biker's hand connects with my face before I even see it coming. The crack echoes across the diner parking lot, and I stumble backward, my cane clattering against the asphalt. I'm on the ground now, present tense. Everything's in present tense. When you're 82 and someone half your age just knocked you down for asking him to move his motorcycle from the handicapped spot. Before I continue telling you what happened to me that day, tell me in the comments what city and country you're watching from. And if these stories move you the way they move me to tell them, don't forget to follow the channel. I share new stories every day. He's standing over me, this kid with his leather jacket and his sneer, and I think, here we go again. Always end up on the ground somehow. The asphalt is cold against my palm, the same palm that once held a rifle in Korea, that once saluted generals, that once signed discharge papers with shaking fingers. And I wonder if this is how it ends. Not with honor, not with ceremony, but with gravel in my teeth and strangers staring. "Stay down, old man," he says, revving his engine. "Maybe next time you'll mind your own business." The Harley roars to life, drowning out everything except the sound of my own breathing, heavy and labored. Everyone's watching. The whole diner, pressed against the windows like it's dinner theater. But nobody moves. Nobody helps. Nobody sees. Well, nobody sees what I really am. My name is Frank Morrison, and I've been carrying the same wallet for 63 years. Not because I'm cheap, though my late wife Martha used to joke about that, but because inside that wallet is a photograph that's more faded than my memories, more precious than the pension check that barely covers my medications. It's a picture of my unit, Charlie Company, 2nd Infantry Division, taken 3 days before we crossed the 38th parallel in 1951. 23 faces stare back from that photograph. Boys, really, though we thought we were men. Boys who shared cigarettes and letters from home, who covered each other in firefights, who promised we'd all make it back to see our sweethearts again. I keep counting, always counting. 19 didn't make it home. 4 of us did. Now it's just me, and some days I wonder if that's fair. The photograph is cracked down the middle, right through Bobby Chen's smile. Bobby, who saved my life at Heartbreak Ridge and died 2 days later calling for his mother, and the edges are worn smooth from my thumb tracing the faces of ghosts. I pull it out whenever someone asks about my service, which isn't often anymore. Most people just see an old man taking up space, moving too slow, needing help with things that used to be simple. But that photograph holds the weight of promises kept and promises broken, of boys who became heroes and heroes who became statistics. And right now, lying on this parking lot with strangers gawking and my pride bleeding into the asphalt, that photograph is pressed against my chest, inside my jacket pocket, over my heart where it's always been. They're all staring, but not one person moves to help me up. The waitress who served me coffee and called me honey in that patronizing way they all do, she's got her face pressed to the glass, but her hands stay on the dish rag. The manager, who took my order and rolled his eyes when I asked him to repeat the daily specials because my hearing isn't what it used to be. He's shaking his head like this is somehow my fault. And what did I do wrong? I asked a young man politely to move his motorcycle from the handicapped spot. "Excuse me, son," I said, "but that spot is reserved for folks who need it." I showed him my placard, the one that hangs from my rearview mirror next to the small American flag Martha bought me before she passed. The placard that reminds me every day that my body is failing, that the shrapnel in my left leg from Porkchop Hill still shifts when it rains, that the arthritis in my hands is the price I pay for crawling through frozen trenches in a war most people have forgotten. His response? "What are you going to do about it, Grandpa?" And when I insisted, when I stood my ground, because sometimes even at 82 you have to stand your ground, he shoved me. When I got back up, he hit me. And now I'm the problem, the troublemaker, the crazy old man who doesn't know when to keep quiet. A police car drives by slowly, and I think maybe, but no, they don't even slow down. Just another old man on the ground. Nothing to see here. Move along. Is this what we fought for? Is this the America we bled for? Where strength trumps respect, where age is a liability instead of wisdom, where A uniform that once commanded salutes now commands nothing but pity. There's a young woman sitting in the corner booth. I noticed her when I came in. Hard not to, really. She's wearing fatigues, Army ACUs, sergeant stripes on her sleeves, combat boots that actually look like they've seen combat, not the fashion statement kind. She's been quiet this whole time, nursing a cup of coffee and working on some paperwork, but she's watching. Her eyes. There's something in her eyes. Recognition, maybe. Or just the professional assessment that comes with the uniform. She sees me struggle to get back on my feet, sees the way the biker revs his engine in triumph, sees the way everyone else just watches, like it's entertainment. She stands up slowly, deliberately, the way soldiers do when they're making a decision. Not rushed, not emotional, just purposeful. She walks to the counter and says something quiet to the manager, something I can't hear over the motorcycle engine and the ringing in my ears from where that punk's hand connected with my skull. The manager nods, picks up the phone, dials a number. The young sergeant, I can see her rank clearly now. She's maybe 30, maybe younger, hard to tell with soldiers sometimes. She walks outside. Not toward me, not toward the biker, just outside, like she's making a call of her own. What is she doing? I'm still on my knees, still trying to get my bearings, and this stranger in uniform is taking action while everyone else treats this like a show. She's got her phone out now and she's talking fast, urgent, but calm, military calm, the kind of calm that comes before the storm. The biker isn't done with me. He's walking back over. His friends have arrived now. 3 more motorcycles, 3 more leather jackets, 3 more sneers. They circle me like I'm some kind of wounded animal, and maybe that's what I am. Maybe. That's all I've ever been since Martha died, since the last of my unit passed away, since the world decided that 82 years wasn't wisdom, but weakness. You still want to play tough guy? The first one says. He's younger up close, maybe. 25, with tattoos covering his arms and attitude covering his insecurity. Because we can do this all day, old man. Nobody cares about you. Nobody's coming to help you. And he's right. The diner is full of people, and they're all watching, but nobody moves. Nobody calls the police. Nobody even opens the door. I'm alone. Here, more alone than I've ever been. Even in those frozen foxholes in Korea, when the Chinese were advancing and we thought we were all going to die. This is it, I think. This is how Frank Morrison ends. Not with honors, not with ceremony, not surrounded by family and friends. On the ground in a diner parking lot, humiliated by children who never had to fight for anything, never had to sacrifice anything, never had to watch their friends die for ideals they're too young to understand. The biker raises his hand again, and I flinch. I flinch. 82 years old, veteran of the Korean War, Purple Heart recipient, and I flinch in front of a punk kid because I'm scared, because I'm old, because nobody sees who I used to be. Please, I hear myself say, and I hate the churchy sound of my own voice, weak, pleading. Please, I just wanted to get some coffee. The sound starts as a rumble in the distance, low, deep, rhythmic, like thunder, but different, mechanical, organized. The sergeant is smiling. She's standing by her car now, phone still in her hand, and she's smiling like she knows something. The rest of us don't. The rumble gets louder, closer, and then I see them. Motorcycles, but not like the punk's Harley. These are different, bigger, older. And the riders, Jesus Christ. The riders are wearing colors I recognize. Vietnam Veterans of America, Korean War Veterans Association, Rolling Thunder, Purple Heart Riders. 40, maybe 50 motorcycles pull into the parking lot like a parade, like a cavalry charge, like the answer to a prayer I didn't even know I was praying. They form a perfect semicircle around me and the punk, engines idling in synchronization, chrome gleaming in the afternoon sun. The lead rider removes his helmet, and I see gray hair, weathered face, eyes that have seen things. He looks at me, still on my knees, still bleeding from where I hit the asphalt, and his expression is pure rage barely contained by military discipline. Sergeant Morrison, he says, and his voice carries across the parking lot like a command. Frank Morrison, Charlie Company, 2nd Infantry Division. How does he know? How does he know my name, my unit, And then I see the young sergeant walking toward us, her phone still in her hand, and I understand. She called them. She looked me up somehow, made some calls, and she called them. That's me, I managed to say, my voice barely a whisper. Colonel James Mitchell, 1st Cavalry Division, Vietnam, he says, dismounting his bike. And these are your brothers, Sergeant. Every last one of us. Everything changes. The air itself feels different, charged with something I haven't felt in years. Respect, recognition, brotherhood. The biker who hit me is backing away now, his swagger replaced by something that looks suspiciously like fear. His friends are quiet, their engines off, suddenly very interested in their boots. The diner empties. Everyone who was content to watch an old man get beaten is now outside, but not to gawk, to witness. The waitress who called me honey has tears in her eyes. The manager who rolled his eyes at my hearing is standing at attention without even realizing it. Colonel Mitchell helps me to my feet with hands that are gentle but strong, and suddenly I'm not alone anymore. I'm surrounded by brothers I've never met but who know me anyway, who understand what that photograph in my wallet means, who've carried their own ghosts for just as long. You want to tell me what happened here? The colonel asks, but he's not looking at me. He's looking at the punk, who suddenly seems very small, surrounded by 50 veterans on motorcycles. The kid stammers something about it being a misunderstanding, about how he didn't know, about how sorry he is. But it's too late for sorry. It's too late for excuses. The shame is written all over his face, all over the faces of everyone who watched and did nothing. Move your bike, the colonel says quietly, and apologize to the sergeant. The punk nods, frantically, mumbles an apology I can barely hear, and wheels his motorcycle away from the handicapped spot with shaking hands. His friends follow without a word, their rebellion deflated by the presence of real warriors. The young army sergeant walks over to us, and I realize she's crying. Thank you, she says to me, for your service, for everything. They won't let me pay for my coffee. The manager, red-faced and stammering, insists it's on the house. For life, he says. Anytime you want to come in, Sergeant Morrison, anytime at all. But it's not about the coffee anymore. It's about being seen. For the first time in years, decades maybe, people are seeing me. Not as an obstacle, not as a burden, not as some old man taking up space, but as who I really am, who I've always been. The veterans form an honor guard as I walk back to my car. These men and women I've never met, from wars I never fought, but who understand something the rest of the world has forgotten. That some debts can never be repaid, only honored. That some sacrifices deserve recognition, not because they're ancient history, but because they made today possible. Colonel Mitchell hands me his card. You ever need anything, Sergeant? Anything at all? We take care of our own. We take care of our own. When's the last time someone said that to me? When's the last time I felt like I belonged to something bigger than my empty apartment and my doctor's appointments and my faded photographs? I pull out my wallet, show them the picture of Charlie Company. They gather around like it's a sacred text. And maybe it is. Maybe that's what brotherhood is. A collection of sacred texts, carried in wallets and hearts and memories, binding us together across time and distance and all the things that try to separate us. 19 didn't make it home, I tell them, my voice steady for the first time all day. They made it home, Colonel Mitchell says. They just took the long way. 3 weeks later, I'm back at the diner. Same booth, same cup of coffee, same waitress. But she doesn't call me honey anymore. She calls me Sergeant Morrison, and she means it. The manager stops by my table every time I come in, not to rush me along, but to chat. To ask about Korea, about my service, about the friends I lost. There's a plaque by the door now, small brass, engraved with simple words, reserved for veterans. Below it, a smaller sign, in honor of Sergeant Frank Morrison and all who served. I didn't ask for it, don't really need it, but every time I see it, every time some young person stops to read it and asks their parent what it means, I think about that photograph in my wallet, about Charlie Company, about promises kept and promises broken and the long journey home. The Army sergeant, her name is Sarah, I learned, Sarah Peterson. She stops by sometimes when she's in town. We don't talk about that day in the parking lot. We don't need to. Some conversations happen without words, soldier to soldier, across the years and the wars and all the things civilians will never understand. And sometimes, late at night when I'm alone in my apartment, I take out that photograph and I count the faces. 23 boys who thought they were men. 19 who never got the chance to become anything else. 4 who made it home. 1 who's still here. But I'm not alone anymore. I'm part of something again. Connected to something bigger than my own fading memories. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all any of us really need. To be seen, to be remembered, to know that our sacrifices mattered. The photograph is still cracked down the middle, still worn smooth at the edges. But it doesn't feel as heavy as it used to. Because now I know they're all home, all of us. We just took different roads to get here.